What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel where we basically sit down and cover different kinds of comic book stories. Now, guys, today we are going to jump back over to Marvel's 1984 big event, Secret Wars. Now, last week we covered the first 3 chapters of this event. And guys, this week we are going to cover chapter 4 through 6. Now, honestly, guys, this event is huge because when Marvel released this event back in the year 1984, they never had a crossover this big before. You are talking about taking the X-Men, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and a few other characters and say, throw these characters on one big crazy cosmic event. This was Marvel's biggest crossover back then. Now guys, I am hoping you are enjoying these videos. If you guys are enjoying these videos, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, let me know in the comments below. But guys, I do hope you enjoy chapter 4 through 6 of Secret Wars. Now, our video picks up where we left off last time, where the heroes have arrived to this world that was made by the Beyonder, so that they would have to fight against the villains for the chance to win a prize. But our last video left off at with the heroes getting their butt kicked on their own base, and so they had no choice to retreat. But today's video picks up with them trying to get away still from the bad guys. Now at first, the bad guys don't see them. And so with that, the villains are upset at not killing the heroes off to win the Beyonder's prize. But that is when you have all of the villains see the heroes trying to sneak away. And so with that, you have the Molecule Man use his powers to drop a mountain on top of the heroes as a way to make sure that the heroes are killed off. It's a whole freaking mountain. Now with the mountain being dropped on the heroes, a small earthquake happens, which alerts Thor and Enchantress that something is happening. And so with that, you have them go back to see what is going on. Which of course, he sees that the base the heroes were using is destroyed. The heroes are not around and all of the supervillains are now surrounding them. Now Thor is hoping that Enchantress would help him fight against the other villains, because just moments ago these two were about to kiss, which they were hoping something would bloom out of that kiss. But Enchantress leaves Thor behind when the other villains ask her whose side she is on. And so with that, you have Thor fight against all of the supervillains by himself to get revenge for his friends. Now at first, Thor is able to hold his own against these guys, but of course he does get overrun by them at the very last second. And we see him get blasted by Ultron, which makes it look like Thor is now dead. Now, before we change to the next setting, you have Doom remember that someone tried to kill him earlier, which in our last video, Kang the Conqueror tried to kill Doom when the villains first rejected Dr. Doom's plans. And so you have Dr. Doom tell Ultron to kill off Kang, and of course, he does that. Ultron kills off Kang the Conqueror. Now we jump over to the X-Men, and this is the part we see the X-Men actually joining Magneto. Now remember, in our last video, the X-Men left the other heroes behind to go find Magneto, because Charles Xavier felt like it would be better for the X-Men to be a third party in this war the Beyonder made. And so we see them finding Magneto's new base, but they also see the Wasp is there as well. Now the problem comes when Charles Xavier tells Magneto why they are there, because when Magneto agrees to join the X-Men, he goes on to say that if the other heroes don't want their help, he will basically kill them off as well with the other villains, and so that he can win this war. But when saying that, you have the Wasp get angry and leave. Remember, in our last video, Magneto captured the Wasp, but after letting her out of his trap, they were getting close and liking one another. But when she heard Magneto and then saw the X-Men, she looked at the X-Men as bad guys and said she was going to warn the other heroes. Now we jump back over to the other heroes, the ones where a whole mountain was thrown on top of them by the Molecule Man. Where we come to find out that they did not die because the Hulk is holding the mountain in place. Like right now, if he lets go, the heroes will die. And so he has to hold this mountain until someone can come with a plan to get them out of there quickly. Now, this was a way for Marvel to show how powerful the Hulk was back in the day. But after a few moments of the Hulk trying to keep the heroes alive, you have the combination of a few other characters working together to blast their way out of the mountains, and the heroes were able to get out of that death trap. Now, once they do get out of their death trap, we also come to find out that Thor did survive the attack from Ultron at the very last second. He was able to sneak away from the villain, but to make it look like that he was killed by them. But once the heroes do regroup, you have Captain America tell Captain Marvel, which again is Monica Rambeau, to go scout for a new place for them to hide and hopefully recover from their injuries. Which they do find a village, but they also run into some random alien race. Now remember that this world was made by the pieces of other planets, and so this village was pulled from their home world. But when the heroes got there, they do find a young lady who is able to heal the heroes who are badly injured. Now, two things happen before we close this chapter. If you guys remember, in our last video, Ben Grimm was turned back to his human form out of nowhere, which no one knows why that was happening. But while being in this village, he turns back into the Thing once again. And then you have Reed Richards freak out because he now sees Galactus calling something from outer space. The big question is though, what did Galactus just summon to this planet? Now we do learn very quickly that the reason why Reed Richards is freaking out is because we see Galactus summoning his home to this planet. Now the question that everyone here is having right now is, what in the world does he plan to do with this building? Because there must be a very good reason on why he just summoned his home here to this world. Now, with Galactus summoning his home here, it is seen all over the planet. Because we jump over to the X-Men and they are seeing the same thing as well. Now, with this happening, this freaks out Charles Xavier and Magneto, which makes them wanting them to go and learn more on the reason why he summoned his home here. And so you have Magneto basically tell the X-Men to get ready to approach Galactus because something could happen if his home is now here on this world. Now, like all of the heroes, Doctor Doom is also seeing the same thing as well now, which now is making Doctor Doom wonder what he should do next, which of course with him it could make things even worse for the heroes, because we are talking about somebody who is known for doing the craziest things in comics. And so we do jump back over to the heroes, where they are still wondering what in the world can they do to figure out what Galactus is trying to do. And so you have the heroes agree on sending Reed Richards up there to talk to him, because the Fantastic Four had multiple run-ins with Galactus. And so it is kind of like their best hope on figuring out what he is planning to do. But while Reed is trying to talk to Galactus, you have Magneto and Charles Xavier appear, where we learn what their plan is, which is using Charles Xavier powers to read the mind of Galactus, hoping to learn more of his plans, which when Galactus feels Charles Xavier in his mind, he sends a mind shockwave to stop Charles Xavier and also shock Reed Richards back to the ground. But as soon as Galactus was done with Charles Xavier and Reed Richards, you have him send down a robot to attack the heroes for what they were trying to do. Now, this robot is made, of course, by Galactus, and so it is giving our heroes a challenge here. Remember, you are talking about a roster of some strong Marvel characters like the Hulk and even the Thing, but this robot does give the heroes an actual challenge here. But after a couple pages of them fighting against this robot, you have the heroes actually defeat the robot. But as soon as they wipe the robot out, that is when you have the villains appear once again. And so with them appearing, there is a very good reason why they are here. This is not another battle where we see the villains fighting against the heroes. Dr. Doom sent them there to be a distraction for Galactus, because we learn that his plan is to sneak on the ship of Galactus, hoping to gather something from there. But Dr. Doom's plan works for him only because while the fight is going on between the superheroes and the villains, the X-Men rejoin the rest of the heroes to help them out against the villains, which of course it does work. And he was able to sneak on the ship of Galactus. Now, something else to point out is that Colossus got injured in the all-out brawl, because here comes the kicker. Charles Xavier and Magneto forced the X-Men to leave Colossus behind because he would only slow them down. And so the X-Men have officially abandoned one of their own. But also, we learn why Galactus summoned his home here for. He is building his device to help him eat the entire planet. Because remember, Galactus has an endless hunger. He has to devour planets to survive. And so his goal to win this war is to devour this planet completely. Now, the 6th chapter is where we jump back with the Wasp, which, if you guys remember, the last time we saw her, she left the X-Men and Magneto behind to tell the superheroes that the X-Men are bad and working with Magneto. But as y'all can tell, she never got to the other heroes. She got lost in some form of a jungle. Now, when she left Magneto's base, she did steal an alien version of a car, hoping it would get her to the other heroes. But it breaks down in this jungle. Now she is stuck in this jungle. But while she is chilling in this jungle, out of nowhere, you have the Lizard appeared, which we have not seen him since the beginning of this whole event once the characters have arrived to this world. But now we jump over to Dr. Doom, who is again on the ship of Galactus trying to find something that would give him the edge to defeat everyone, and including the Beyonder. But while he is on the ship, he finds some device that brings a character back to life, which this character is Klaw. Now, Klaw is this character who is known as a Black Panther villain, but his powers are more based around the idea of sound and vibration, where he is able to basically attack you with a blast with high vibrations of sound. But something else to point out is that his body is made of vibrations now, and so he can never truly die. But the reason he is here right now, because in the earlier story, Klaw fought against Dazzler, who her powers let her absorb any form of energy. And so when he attacked her, she absorbed him. And then when she fought against Galactus, the energy she threw at Galactus was actually Klaw. It's confusing and strange And I'm hoping I was able to explain that very well. But you have Doctor Doom use Klaw as a messenger. He sent Klaw back down to the other villains to tell him he's on the ship of Galactus, but also he has a plan. Now we jump over to Charles Xavier, and this is where you have Charles Xavier trying to take the next step to figure out what is going on with Galactus and the villains. And so he reads the mind of the villains, and this is where Charles Xavier finds out that Doctor Doom is sending his fellow mates to some volcanic area for a certain mission. The problem is, though, Charles Xavier is unable to figure out what that mission is. And now you have Charles Xavier send his X-Men after the villains who are going to the volcanic area. Which you have the story shift over to show us the fight between the X-Men and the villains in this volcanic area. Now the big reason why we are covering this fight is because the X-Men are getting their butt kicked by the villains. But one character does get severely injured, and that character is the Molecule Man, which is huge because this man has the ability to wipe out the entire universe. Like, he can end everything just like that. But he gets caught off guard by Wolverine and gets slashed across the chest. And so you have the supervillains retreat because one of their own is basically slowly bleeding out. Now we do jump back over to the Wasp and the Lizard, which when we last saw them, they just ran into each other. But we come to find out that these two became friends after they met each other, because Wasp is helping the Lizard out with some of his wounds and also building a bond with him. But while they are hanging out in the jungle, the villains who left the volcanic area because of Molecule Man being injured, on the way back to their base, they fire a laser which goes through the body of the Wasp, which makes it seem like she is now dead. And then you have the villains capture the Lizard as well. But to close off this video, we jump back to the heroes and they are watching Galactus about to finish his machine to help him eat the planet. But right before we close this story, we do see someone is watching the heroes from the shadows. The question is, though, who is this person? And guys, this is where we're going to end today's video. And so guys, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories in the near future. Now guys, next week we are going to cover chapter number 7 through 9 of the Secret War event. So guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please hit that like button and also subscribe. But guys, I'm out of here and I will see you on the next comic book video.